Yeah, I mean, I think like anything else, when you're building something sort of that challenges the way things are done, it really kind of spikes people's, like hairs on their arms, and it makes people uncomfortable. And the minute you're making somebody uncomfortable about something, they want to find many reasons to naysay, to make it wrong, to make it feel like, oh my God, you're a quack, you're crazy. And so I think it's, no different than anybody else who's attempted to push the envelope. And
Yeah.
so for me, as when I was building my last company, and this is now, 5 years ago, which is wild to even think about that it was that long
When
ago.
you were building things.
Yeah,
wow.
and this is while I was pregnant as well. And so this was like a whole wild experience of just, dealing with, some people at my company who, didn't share a similar vision and values, people who worked with me and for me.
Yeah.
And, in the process of letting them go, there was a lot of, things that were said that were untrue. And just as when people are hurt people hurt people.
Of course. And I also think like because you are not just a visionary and inventor, but like doing something completely different for humanity pretty much. And then as an entrepreneur and a leader, you have to make hard decisions many times.
I mean, almost like not even just, being in a disruptive category, just anyone who's starting a business, who's hiring people and who hire people that aren't necessarily good for culture or good for the business, you have to make tough calls. And I think at the time, I was still a first time, founder of a really fast growth, just high visibility company.
Yeah.
And it was, a really sort of pro kind of like period feminism movement kind of like moment in time. And so it attracted a certain type of woman.
Okay, so like the feminist, the ultra feminist.
Feminist.
Yeah.
The
alt feminist.
alt feminist.
Yeah, too much extremism is not good for anybody.
Yeah. And so I think for us from a business perspective, like it was good from a social media perspective and from a PR perspective to
diversity and all of those things.
To have this sort of like these like really intense stances. But then when it comes to business and running a business, those alt stances could be too far.
Absolutely. Because it might not be the culture fit.
It's not a culture fit, or it like when you're catering to a whole breadth of a type of a woman and you're only catering to one type of alt feminist type, it doesn't support everyone.
It's hard.
And so I think for us, we had to make a tough call, and I probably could have done it a little bit more, kind of in a less clunky way, although firing anyone is really, really difficult in general.
Oh my gosh,
It doesn't matter how you do it. It hurts feelings. And so I think I for me, I wasn't very, very well prepared for the repercussion of that. And so, I experienced a lot of just wild, just out of context things being said. And it, while I was pregnant, so very hormonal and very just like, it was...
Girl, while you're pregnant too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So all of that intensity is like getting dropped to like heroes.
Yeah, for sure. And it was very much in a protective space. But like the one main moment in my life during that period when I was in the eye of the storm, I remember being in my bed, super pregnant and crying in my pillow and just being like, how is this happening? Like here I am doing my best to, break a taboo and eliminate shame for women.
Right.
And
so much
and I'm
shame.
getting this sort of level of takedown by women and in a way that was so hurtful and so difficult, in sort of like as a person on this planet, right?
Of course. Like, as a human being,
right?
Like this tough human moment.
But then what was so beautiful was that I had this sort of like this out of body experience where I became sort of like a fly or a being observing myself crying in my pillow, pregnant, just by myself, just being like, what is this lesson I'm supposed to learn, universe? Like, why is this happening for me? Like, what is this? What is the gift that I'm not seeing? And I remember just being like, oh my God, it like totally hit me. It was like, I get to feel the depths of anger, of despair, of betrayal, of hurt, of sadness, like the depths of those feelings. And then I thought about my favorite William Wordsworth quote, which is, You know, like I want to skid to death's door sideways, not in a well-preserved body, thoroughly used up,
fully,
you know, loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride, you know? And so it's sort of like, I want to experience every single piece of being alive. And that includes all the emotions, that includes anger, sadness, betrayal, pain, all those feelings. And I think when we kind of keep ourselves in a safe boxed place and assume we're safe, we're not living the extent of our full aliveness, our full vitality. And so in that moment of like observing myself feeling those feelings, I was like overcome with gratitude. And then I started like laughing. So then I watched myself like laugh, crying in my pillow like a crazy person, be like, and it was just like
the full range of all of these emotions.
It was so it was just flooding my body. And I think that was when it turned to gratitude. And I think initially it was so much, why me? How's this happening? What did I do to deserve this? All this. And then turned to like elation of the human experience. And so, you know, I think, you know, forgiveness comes in many forms.
Of
and
course.
I think for me, it's like finding the depths of like gratitude in the experience.
See you next time at the Brave Table.